Department at the University of Arkansas. After completion of his postdoctorate, Dr. Snodgrass was asked to remain as a faculty member and served as a research assistant professor. He currently works in the Buprenorphine Clinic in Little Rock, Arkansas. Dr. Snodgrass also has the experience and decades-long history of opioid addiction. He has been well since 2011. We will have an extended question and answer discussion after the presentation. Please feel free to enjoy the refreshments during the presentation. Thank you.
We can hardly hear you, Kyle.
I can't stand still.
Can you turn that up? I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm not sure it's quite turned up. Let's see if I hold it close.
Now we go. Can
I
Kyle
really
read
don't
again?
like doing that, but I'll do it. I started shooting heroin when I was 20 years old. It was back in 1976, when I was a sophomore at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. I walked into a friend's apartment one day, and he and some other people were cooking and shooting black tar heroin. And I've been drinking alcohol, and I smoked weed, and every now and then, this is the 70s, I did some LSD every now and then, that kind of thing, but I always swore I'd never, ever put a needle in my vein. This is one of those never say never stories, because that day I shot the heroin. And for the next 13 years, I used heroin and Dilaudid, which is an opioid very similar to heroin, occasionally, just off and on, nothing ever consistent enough to become strung out or addicted. I did what they used to call chipping. I just chip on it occasionally. I received my BA in psychology in 1981. I went to the graduate program in psychology at the University of Georgia. I have a master's in experimental and a PhD doctorate in biopsychology. Whenever I finished my doctorate, I was awarded a National Institute on Drug Abuse postdoctoral fellowship to the Pharmacology Toxicology Department at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences. Now, the whole time I was at Georgia, whenever I would come back on spring break or summer break, I'd get with my buddies and I'd go out and shoot the lot. And then I'd just go back to Georgia and forget it. I came back to Arkansas, University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, because I wanted to work with Dr. Don McMillan, who was chair of the pharmacology department. He was also one of the leading researchers in something called behavioral pharmacology, which is the study of the drugs we like to use, how they affect brain and behavior. In the postdoc, I was doing research, running experiments, writing them up, and getting them published in scientific journals. That's what you do. I did well enough that when I finished my postdoc, Don McMillan asked me to stay on as faculty. And so I was research assistant professor, pharmacology toxicology department as a medicine. And I was doing very well. I got a major grant from NIDA, National Institute on Drug Abuse, 3-year, $500,000 grant to look at the effects of choice on cocaine supplementation in rats. Again, I was doing very well. The only problem was, I started at UMS in 1987, the end of the year. There was a bottle of powdered methadone hydrochloride rolling around the drawer. It wasn't in the safe, it was just rolling around in the drawer. And I watched that bottle of methadone hydrochloride roll around that drawer from November 87 till April of 89. And one day I had the bright idea, oh well, I wonder what that would feel like. So I tried it. And I can't remember how big a bottle it was. I really have no idea. But it was big enough. It was big enough that when I shot it, the whole time I shot that bottle, I swore to myself, I told myself that whenever I finished that bottle, I'd stop, I'd quit. I could do that. I even remember telling myself if I became addicted to it, oh well, I could still quit. And I really believed that up until the time I couldn't quit, up until the time I could not stop. I shot that whole bottle and I could not stop. I tried. I tried with everything that was in me, everything that I was, to try and stop. And I could not stop. I started stealing drugs out of the safe. I started stealing morphine, methadone, hydromorphone. We were working with all kinds of opioids. We were working with all kinds of other drugs that people like to use. And so for a while I had plenty of access to these opioids. And again, as long as I had access to them, I did very well. The problem was around 91 or 92, they figured out somebody was stealing stuff from the safe and they shut that down. At that point, my life pretty much went to hell because now I didn't have something I could just go to the safe, get out and use. I had to go out on the streets and try and find what I needed. And so my behavior became very erratic. All the money I had saved up, I went through. The new car I had, I traded it in on an old one. The house I was buying, I got behind on the payments. I got my ass kicked out of UAMS in 1995 because they figured out that my behavior was so erratic, I was doing drugs, and I was probably the one that had gotten in the safe and stole all the drugs. So I kicked my ass out of UAMS in 1995. I had a very good friend, Dr. Garth Hines. He was head of the psychology department at University of Arkansas at Little Rock. So I just slid over to the psychology department, started teaching out there, and I got on the methadone clinic. And I did very well on the methadone. The methadone stabilized me. I was able to be normal. I didn't have to go out and chase the damn pills or the heroin anymore. And I did well. I taught my classes, function well on the methadone. But every now and then, and don't ask me why, I really don't know, I really didn't even like them, but every now and then I would take a benzo, a Xanax or a Valium or something like that. And one day, in 2007, I got caught by the clinic doing that, and they kicked my ass out of the clinic. And in 2007, I said, oh well, I'll just show them, I'll just show everybody, I'll quit, I'll stop, which of course I did not do. What I did do was started shooting the old Oxy 80s. I don't know if y'all know what those are. They were OxyContin 80s. They had this little green coating on them. Just suck that green coating off, wash it off, crush it down, shoot it. Apparently I was shooting too many of those Oxy 80s because in the spring semester of 2008, I don't remember this, I really don't, I really thought I was cool. I didn't think anybody knew I was using. But apparently I was going into class so messed up I couldn't teach. I was going into a class, I was nodding out, desk, I was told I was nodding out, standing up. I don't remember this, but I was told there were times I would start a sentence, I'd nod out, pop back up, finish the sentence like nothing had ever happened. I got my ass kicked out of UALR in May of 2008. For the next 3 years, I just lost everything. Whatever I had, it was gone. For the last year and my memory is really fuzzy on this. For the last year and a half, something like that, I lived on the streets. I was homeless. People talk about couch surfing, I floor surfed. I slept in homeless shelters. I slept on the ground. But the problem was I was still living in my addiction, which meant I had to somehow come up with the money every day to get well, to stave off the withdrawals, to try and function. And it's very, very difficult when you're homeless and every now and then you pick up a little odd job doing something or other to be consistent with that. There were times that I would work all day to come up with the money, get the opiates, the Dilaudid, methadone, whatever I could find. And I would be very hungry. But when I got that money, instead of buying food, I bought the methadone and Dilaudid, whatever it was, whatever I could get. And there were times I ate out of garbage cans. Now, I want y'all to keep this in your mind. What does that say about me? That I would work all day, come up with money, be hungry, and instead of buying food, I'd buy drugs. Does that mean I'm a worthless, horrible person that just wants to go out and get high and hell with food, I just want to get high? Hang on to that thought. About the last 3 months of my addiction, I was living with a family, sleeping on the floor. They slept on the floor half the time. They were good people. They tried to help me. They really couldn't help me. I couldn't be helped at that point. Anyway, the grandmother was selling Dilaudid, methadone, Roxy's, anything she could out the front door. Her son-in-law and grandsons were selling crack out the back door. And it was just 24 hours a day chaos in that house. It was just drama all the time. Something was always going on. There was sleeping in that place was almost impossible. That wasn't the problem. The problem was, they let me come and stay with them, and I was the kind of person that says, hey, I really need a place to stay. Let me stay for a week. 3 months later, you're still there. So I'd kind of worn out my welcome, but this was December in Arkansas. It was wet. It was cold. It was miserable. I had no money, nothing. And the only thing I could think to do was to go into a detox so I could get my tolerance down and it wouldn't cost so much money for me to be able to function. I went into this detox, it was called Mid-Art. And they kept me so wiped out on trazodone and Librium, and I don't know what all they were feeding me. I didn't even know where I was at. And after 5 days, they told me I was well, and hooked me up with this rehab, the only one that would take me. I had no money. I had 2 cents in my pocket, and I'm sure I picked that up off the ground. They hooked me up with this so-called rehab called Hoover, which was about 6 blocks from Mid-Art. And I do remember this, pulling my little 2-wheeled suitcase, which is all I had left. I mean, one of these little 2-wheeled suitcases you see people pulling behind them in airports. My life fit in one of those. Pulling that up to Hoover and going there, not because I wanted to go there, not because it even entered my mind that really I wanted to stop, but it was cold, it was wet, I didn't have any money, I didn't have any way to get anything. Well, and I was sick. I had been shooting primarily methadone, and methadone has a very long half-life, which means withdrawals from methadone are protracted. They last a long time. After 5 days, they were really just kicking in. Anyway, I went to this 12-step rehab, Hoover. It was warm, it was dry, and I could be sick in there and not be on the streets. And so I stayed and went through methadone withdrawals while I was there. After 28 days, you could leave and come back. This 28-day program. But they allowed me to stay longer. What I did part of the time was I would walk back to the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, which is where that Mid-Art detox was part of the campus. And I would go back to the library because I could not understand. I could not understand why I had gone through what I had gone through. I could not understand why I couldn't stop. And I started reading. I started reading the journals, I started reading the research, the advances that had been made in understanding addiction, opioid addiction in particular. And I can remember, they were really good with me at UMS. They could tell I was poor. And by the time I got through with my methadone withdrawals, I was down to 118 pounds. Those things nearly killed me. good to me at the UMS library. They let me run papers off, articles off for free. Usually it's 5 cents a page. They just gave it to me. And I can remember being back at Hoover, sitting in what they euphemistically called breakfast, and reading a paper by Drs. Koob and Boko about the neural circuitry of addiction. And it just clicked. I don't know how else to describe it. It was one of the strangest experiences I've ever had in my life. It was like 1,000 keys slid into 1,000 locks and 1,000 doors just swung open. And everything just clicked. I understood. Behavioral, the pharmacological, the neuroscience part of it, it just came together at that point. And I understood why I couldn't stop. Now, I went into that detox on December 12, 2011, and I haven't used it since. The rehab did not do that for me. What did that for me, at least I think, who really knows, at least this is what I believe in my heart, is that I understood what this was. I understood that it was an illness. I understood that I had changed the structure of my brain to the point that it was driving me to survive. That it was telling me that I had to have these opioids to survive. This is why I chose them over the food. Because my brain was, step backwards and look at that. My brain was telling me that I needed those opioids more than I needed food as far as survival. That's why I work all day and get up money, be hungry, and buy those opioids. Opioid addiction is not about getting high. It's not about getting well. Opioid addiction is about survival. And that's what I'm going to try and talk about today, is what happens into the brain, excuse me, what happens into the brain, how it changes, what those effects are on us, and why we do the things that we do. Okay. Neuroscience of opioid addiction. Julie, I'm going to have you bounce it up and down. Let's go to the next one. There are many explanations for opioid addiction. I don't know if you want to see that, but one way is simple but wrong. The other way is complex but right. Understanding the brain, understanding that this thing, this 3-pound mass that's between our ears is difficult. I mean, what do y'all know about the brain? That is this massive tissue up there, and this is why you think and why you do things. But what do you understand about it? It's very easy to say that somebody is addicted to opioids because they have trauma in their life, they have some kind of damage to their psyche, they have low self-esteem, they have social anxiety, and this is why they do opioids. It may be why they started. I'm not saying that. But those things do not cause addiction. There's a difference between having something which may predispose someone to an addiction and the cause of that addiction. We get taken in by very simplistic beliefs about what this is because they make intuitive common sense. Oh, you were traumatized as a child. This is why you're addicted to these opioids. It may be why you started, but that, again, is not what caused it. Okay, there you go. This is a kind of a scientific standard definition of opioid addiction. Opioid addiction is a chronic, it means it stays with you the rest of your life. This doesn't go away. Once you change your brain like this, it's there. You're going to be dealing with it the rest of your life. Recurring. The typical word used is relapse. I do not like that word. When you hear relapse, you automatically think addiction. This is different. This really is a physical medical condition. We should be using that language. So it's recurring disorder, which means that it comes back. It comes back and it comes back. disorder of brain structure and function. This is what we're going to be talking about today. Manifested as compulsive drug seeking and use. This is what everybody sees. Everybody sees us doing these things which makes no sense. Why would somebody eat out of a garbage can? Why would somebody hawk, sell, trade everything they've got? Why would somebody hurt the ones they love? This is what we see, and this is what we don't understand. We see the behavior, but we don't understand it. We think, oh well, if they just tried hard enough, they could quit. If they really wanted to, if they could quit. I can't imagine how hurtful this one is. Oh, if you really love your kids, you could quit. No. These people they love their kids just as much as they ever did. They love you just as much as they ever did. But they don't understand what's going on. They can't explain to you what's going on. And so it just eats into them, it eats into you, and it starts to rip families apart because there's a misunderstanding here. And the misunderstanding is that these people that you love and love you believe they love the drugs more than they love you, and that is not true. Even while experiencing negative consequences. Oh yes, we experience negative consequences. We hurt the ones we love. We run out of money. We do things we know are not us. We do things that we know rip us apart and rip the people we love apart. We go to jail. We're criminalized. We're ostracized. We suffer these negative consequences for our use. And people say, well, why don't you just stop? Well, if we could stop, we wouldn't suffer the negative consequences. We wouldn't be doing this. If it was that easy, nobody'd be addicted to these opioids.
Sorry.
This is a little bit print. This is a little bit small. This is a quote from an article by Dr. Roy Wise. And it was Dr. Wise really who started us along this road of understanding that this is a disorder of brain structure and function. I'm going to go ahead and read this. Some of it may not make a lot of sense, but I'll try and explain it. The role of one or more of the dopamine systems in the brain reward mechanisms has been established for over 2 decades. This was written in 2000, and has been shown to be relevant not only to drug reward, but also to brain stimulation reward, food reward, and the reward inherent in sexual interaction. This is sense. There is no specialized addiction center in the brain. The brain mechanisms of addiction evolved long before the phenomena of addiction first emerged in our evolutionary history. What he's saying is that these drugs interact with, change the same systems that evolved to keep you alive, that evolved to ensure our survival. This is what makes this an illness. We change those systems during our addiction. And this is why I say this is about survival. Not about getting high, not about getting well, but about survival. Why do we experience pleasure? Were we born with this ability to experience pleasure just so, gee whiz, we can feel good? What function does pleasure serve? We were talking about survival. When you eat something, you're hungry and you eat something, it makes you feel good. When you're thirsty, you drink something and it makes you feel good. When you're hot, you get into the cool, it makes you feel good. When you are in the cold, you get into the warm and it makes you feel good. Pleasure is is attached to these behaviors. Why? What does that feeling of pleasure do for you? You repeat those behaviors. Things which make you feel good are typically things which help you to survive. Therefore, the brain has a mechanism that says, oh, you're doing something that helps you to survive. We're going to connect a little pleasure with that, so you will repeat that behavior in the future. Now, pain is just the opposite. Slam your hand in that door. Your brain is going to scream out pain. And that pain is going to tell you two things. One, it's going to tell you that you injured yourself and you need to pay attention to it. The second thing it's going to tell you is don't do that again. Pain is a sign, a signal that you are decreasing your chances of survival. That's why it hurts. It's trying to tell you don't do that again. So we are driven away from things which produce pain. We avoid them. We are driven towards things which produce pleasure. We try to acquire them. This is how we survive. Okay, this is kind of squashed, but here we go. There is a circuit within our brain. It's called the pleasure, the reward, the survival circuit. This is hard to see. This area in the brain, it starts in what's called the midbrain. There's an area called the ventral tegmental area. This ventral tegmental area, this gets a little complicated. If you have questions, please, we'll get to them. Contains what are called dopamine cell bodies. They contain the neurotransmitter dopamine. They manufacture it. Also, this is what's kind of neat here. This area is chock full of opioid receptors. Okay? This projects, sends axons from these dopamine neuron cell bodies up into this area of the brain called the nucleus accumbens. It really isn't green, it's just an illustration. And then on up into the prefrontal cortex. Whenever we do anything that makes us feel good, drugs, rock and roll, sex, it's a nice day, eating a nice meal, you're around people you like, you're enjoying it, it's because a little bit of dopamine has been dumped into this nucleus accumbens. That's how you feel pleasure. This is what Dr. Roy Wise was talking about. This system was set up to ensure our survival by connecting pleasure with things which help us to survive. Anytime you do something that's helping your brain interpret, hey, whoa, you're doing something to help you survive, it dumps a little bit of dopamine in that area of the nucleus accumbens, attaching pleasure with that activity so that you do it again. Oh,
Did I go too far?
I think I went too far. Keep going back. Up. Keep going back again. Keep going back again. Up. Okay, now go back 1 forward. Up, backwards, forwards. There you go, backwards.
Sorry.
This is a picture of the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex is the outer covering of your brain. And it's about 2 to 3 millimeters thick, but it is the single largest structure of your brain. You have enough cerebral cortex packed within your skull that if it was laid out flat, it would cover the top of a small business desk. And we need all of it. The cerebral cortex is where what are called all of our higher cognitive processes exist. Things like logic, mathematics, reading, writing, spelling, language, art, music, judgment, decision-making, reasoning, impulse control, and consciousness. Consciousness is generated by and restricted to this outer covering of the brain, which means that everything that exists beneath it is non-conscious. We don't even know it exists. Go ahead, next one. As an example, there is a system in your brainstem called the reticular activating system. Its function is to take information from all of your sensory systems, except the sense of smell, from your peripheral system, touch, pain, cold, hot, from your visual system, from your auditory system, and to regulate your level of awareness. Where you are in your surroundings, or not so aware of your surroundings. It's functioning right now. It is functioning to keep you aware of your surroundings. Can you feel it? Did you know it even existed? Excuse me, before I pointed it out. Can you go in there and can you feel it and turn it on and turn it off? No. It just does what it does when it does it. It's just automatic. Most of your brain is like this. It functions automatically. The only part that is conscious, again, is the outer covering, which means, go ahead, Julia. Whoop, too far. Go back one. There we go. Means this area of the brain, this pleasure circuit, is below the level of consciousness. We don't even know it exists. It just does what it does automatically. It is non-conscious. It doesn't know right, doesn't know wrong, it has no morality. It has one function, and that function is to keep you alive. Solomon Snyder and Candace Clark. In the early 70s, they used a new, for that time, again, this is back around 73, 74, a new technique to show that we have what are called opioid receptor sites within our brain. So go ahead and go down one more. There are things, there's three different kinds of opioid receptors. We're just going to stick with what are called mu receptors. I know this is hard to see. But they discovered that within the brain, we have receptor sites that bind with opiates. And so the next question became, well, we have opiate receptor sites in our brain. Why are they there? Are they there to just take up space? Are they there waiting someday maybe somebody might do some morphine, they get turned on? No. The answer was we have chemicals within our brain which interact with these opioid receptor sites to make them function. And so a couple of years later, yes, these chemicals that fit into these opioid receptor sites, like a key fitting into a lock, excuse me, were discovered. Go ahead, next slide. You can't see this, I'm sorry. But this says endogenous peptides which bind opioid receptors, endorphins, enkephalins, dynorphins. Really, they just all under the family of endorphins. In other words, while you're sitting here right now, you have these chemicals in your brain, and they are binding with opioid receptors. They are normalizing your brain and your body. That's what they're for. They have a function. These opioid receptors have a function. Go ahead. We have an endogenous opioid system. Endogenous means from within. It's in your brain, it's in your body. This endogenous system, I've listed just a few of the functions here of this system. This neuropeptide system modulates many functions for our survival, appetite, sleep, respiration, overdose. These opioids help modulate respiration. Endocrine, your internal hormonal system, stress response, gastric motility. Opioids have been used for centuries to help control diarrhea, dysentery. Pain, they have been used for centuries to help control pain. They also modulate mood, pleasure, euphoria. They're just part of us. We just have this system naturally. It's functioning, it helps control your mood. Whenever you feel really great about something, these opioids play a huge part in feeling that euphoria from something. There's a plant out there that has been used for centuries because it contains opium. It is the opium poppy, beautiful little flower there. But when those petals fall off, it forms a seed pod. And if you'll take a razor blade or a very sharp knife and you just slit the outside covering of that seed pod, what you have is this resinous material that oozes out. That's opium. Opium contains between 12 and 19% morphine base. You scrape it off, dry it out, put it in a pipe, and smoke it. And what gets a person high off of opium is that morphine base. Why? Because the chemical structure of that morphine is so similar to the chemical structure of the endorphins that our brain can't tell them apart. So this morphine, you smoke it, it floods your brain. The opioid receptors, it just fits in them just like those endorphin keys. They just fit in those receptor sites, bam, activate them. The thing is, when you're smoking opium like that, you're flooding your brain with far more morphine, far more opioids than your brain could ever produce on its own. There's that exaggerated euphoria. The word endorphin, in fact, is a combination of two words, endogenous and morphine, endorphin. What this means and what they realized were these endorphins, and this is literal, they are your internal morphine. Their chemical structures are so similar. And this goes for the next one. This goes for the hydrocodones, the oxycodones, hydromorphone, oxymorphone, morphine, heroin, codeine, all of these things, their chemical structure, you put them into a 3D shape, and there's part of them that will slide into that opioid receptor like a key sliding into a lock. Bam, activate them. These are all called full agonists. An agonist is anything which binds to the receptor site. These are called full agonists because they activate the receptor sites fully. How these things, these keys fit into that lock determines what is called potency or intrinsic efficacy. Hydrocodone is not nearly as potent, it doesn't have nearly the intrinsic efficacy as, say, fentanyl. Fentanyl fits into that receptor site, fits into that lock in a specific, special way to where it really kicks that receptor site off. It takes very little fentanyl, in other words, to bind with relatively very few receptor sites to produce a huge effect. With hydrocodone, you've got to really take a lot to get anywhere close to that same effect. Fentanyl analogs. This is what's going around the country now. Fentanyl is about 50 times as potent as heroin. Some of these fentanyl analogs, carfentanil, are 100 times as potent as fentanyl. Something the size of a grain of sand of what's called carfentanil can kill you. Carfentanil, by the way, was never meant for human use. It's never been tested in humans. It was supposed to be used in large animal veterinary services, elks, elephants, things like this, as an immobilization agent. But now we have carfentanil out there. We have acrylfentanyl, we have surfentanyl, we have acetylfentanyl, there is no telling how many different fentanyl analogs out on the street now. There's a reason for that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. I think you did. Pleasure has a function, tolerance has a function. Let's say you have a favorite food. Doesn't matter what it is. We'll just call it prime rib. As long as you eat that prime rib occasionally, every now and then, it can stay your favorite food. You eat prime rib 7 days in a row, you're going to get tired of prime rib. That's how you find new music. It's really great. You love it. But the more you listen to it, the less you like it. We have the ability, our brain has the ability to reduce the pleasure we get from something when we're doing it too often. We're not tolerant to cold, heat, wet, any other type of sensation, but we become tolerant to pleasure. There's a function for that. If you had the money and prime rib was your favorite food and you never become tolerant, you just eat prime rib. if you never got tired of that one music, all you do is listen to that music. The function of tolerance, bringing that euphoria down, is to keep you from being stuck on prime rib. So you go out and you find different foods to eat. The same with the music. Don't keep you from getting stuck on that one kind of music, so you go out and find different music. The function of tolerance is to keep us from getting stuck on something so that we move forward in life. We find new foods, new music, new friends, new things to do, new ways to survive better in this world. You don't get stuck on something. Our brain just has this ability, because if we didn't have this ability for tolerance, we wouldn't survive as a species.
Hold on.
There you go.
Technical problems. There.
Okay. Mechanism of tolerance to opioids. So long as somebody could take 2 hydrocodones every now and then, they wouldn't have a problem. So long as somebody could do a tenth of heroin or whatever, every now and then, they wouldn't have a problem. Well, if they just took 2 hydrocodones a day or 1/10 of heroin a day, they wouldn't have a problem. They could handle that. 2 hydrocodones, 1/10, that's not that expensive, that's not that big a deal, but the problem is tolerance happens. And so after a while, a couple of hydrocodones, it's not doing that. 1/10 of heroin, it's not doing it. There's a difference here. If you're tired of prime rib, eating more prime rib is not going to make you want more prime rib. But with these opioids, it's different. You're taking 2 hydrocodones, everything's fine, you feel... Listen, for those of us that when we take a couple hydrocodones or shoot some heroin, we get a euphoria that is qualitatively different than anything we have ever felt before. Now, y'all know people, maybe some of y'all are like this. You can take hydrocodones, and it makes you sick, it makes you tired, it makes you itchy, you just don't like it. Okay? For those of us like me, I like it. It kicks that euphoria in, and it makes me feel better. It's better than food, it's better than sex. And that intense euphoria like that, again, we're talking about survival here. That intense euphoria, our brain interprets that as being really great for survival. Whatever it was that kicked that intense euphoria in is really what we ought to be doing. Now, here's the kicker. Usually there's a mechanism that says, oh, you're doing something that's helping you to survive, let's kick this system on. These opioids bypass that first part. They just go in and directly kick this system on. But whatever it was, this thing attaches pleasure to it. Oh, you were taking pain pills? There you go. That pleasure, that euphoria is attached to those pain pills. You're shooting heroin? Oh, well, there you go. That pleasure is attached to that heroin. These things don't help us to survive, but that unconscious pleasure circuit doesn't know that. All it knows is something really kicked it on, and whatever that was really has high survival value because it really kicked in that euphoria, and therefore we need to do that again. Now, again, that's not a problem, so long as we would do that occasionally. The problem comes in when we're taking 2 hydros a day and then they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, so we start taking 4 hydros. We're doing a 1/10 of heroin, and after a while, that 1/10 of heroin, we start doing it every day instead of occasionally, and this is the problem. We're doing it every day. We're not doing it occasionally, we're doing it every day. And so our brain, through this mechanism of tolerance, starts bringing that euphoria down. Now, if somebody had told us that tolerance is a sign, a signal, that you are changing the structure of your brain on a cellular, molecular level, and if you don't stop, you're not going to be able to stop, we might could have stopped. I don't know that, but we would have had the opportunity. But nobody ever told us that. Everybody told us, oh, this is just a matter of willpower. You're not like these worthless people over here that are using. When you want to stop, you'll be able to stop. Even if nobody tells us that, that's what we think in our brain, even if we think of it. This is a very gradual, insidious process because it takes time for the brain to adapt. So somebody's using 2 hydros for a while, and it's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and so they take 4. Here's the thing. This was our brain trying to do us a favor. It was trying to keep us from being stuck on those damn hydros so we'd move on and find and do other things. But you can do something with these hydros and this heroin that you can't with food or music or whatever. You take more and it kicks that euphoria back in. So you're doing 4 hydros a day. All of a sudden those 4 hydros aren't doing it again. That's your brain trying to do you a favor, trying to keep you from being stuck on these damn pain pills or on the heroin, whichever one you're doing. We don't understand that. We don't like that, so we take more. Bam, we kick that euphoria back in, and we're off and running again. Nobody's ever told us that this is a disorder of brain structure and function, and you're changing your damn brain. Everybody's always just a matter of willpower. Oh, gee whiz, if you really wanted to, you could stop. Oh, go to a psychotherapist and let them deal with these inner psychic problems that you have, and they'll cure you. As you can tell, I'm not a fan of psychotherapy. Anyway, this is what happens. The problem isn't that the 2 pills. If somebody could take 2 hydrocodones, and every time they took those 2 hydrocodones, it kicked their ass the same way it did the first time they ever took those hydrocodones, they'd be fine. Day after day, year after day, they can handle 2 hydrocodones. They can handle a 10th of heroin. What they can't handle is the fact that their tolerance drives their addiction up to the point to where they're 8 to 12 hydros and somebody introduces them one of those little blue Roxys, and wow, that Roxy's even better. They start off with 1 Roxy and then they're doing 2, 3, 4. I've got people I work with have been doing 15, 20 Roxys a day. I've got people who've been doing 1 gram, 2 grams of heroin a day. That's where the problem comes in. Because you drive your addiction up to the point to where you're having to spend so much money, so much time, so much effort out of your day just trying to find enough to function. It's like you're on a hamster wheel. You're just spinning. Your whole life becomes wrapped around trying to get the money and then trying to find some person that you can give the money to and will give you the damn drugs you need to function, because without the drugs you can't function. You've driven the changes in your brain to the point that if you don't have them, you're not functioning. Why? Tolerance to opioids.
Oops.
Sorry. Back.
What happens, again, our brain cannot tell the difference from what are called exogenous opioids from without and the endogenous ones, the endorphins. So when your brain is flooded with these exogenous opioids, it reacts as if it's overproducing the endorphins, which means it starts shutting the system down. Less and less endorphins being produced. These opioid receptor sites, you cover them, you bind them day after day, month after month, year after year. They become downregulated. They become desensitized. That's tolerance, which means you have to take more so that you can cover more opioid receptors and kick that euphoria back in. But then those become downregulated, desensitized, which means you have to take more to cover more opioid receptors. And you reach a point to where you're not trying to get high, you're not even really trying, you're just trying to get functional so that you can get up and make it through the day, do whatever you're supposed to do, take care of the kids, go to work, do whatever you're supposed to do, make enough money so you can get up and do it again the next day. Our whole life gets wrapped around just trying to function, because we've driven our addiction so high that we're having to spend so much. But these things are so expensive, they're so scarce. This is why heroin has just flooded, because it's come in, they slam down on the pain pills. Good for them. But that just opened the market up for heroin. Now heroin has come in. They're slamming down on heroin. Good for them. That opens the market up for these even more potent drugs like fentanyl and fentanyl analogs, which are coming in now. And they are killing people. We shut the system down, which means that if you don't have opioids in your brain, in your body, you're not normal because your endogenous opioid system is shut down. It's not functioning. Y'all remember all the things I talked about earlier that help modulate? All of those things are messed up. You can't feel euphoria. You can't feel pleasure. Your mood's all messed up. You feel pain. You hurt. Everything, you can't sleep. Your appetite, nothing functions right without these opioids. So this is real here. So long as we can get these opioids, we can go to work. And nobody knows anything's wrong. It's only when we can't get them, when we have to go to work, that people know there's something wrong. That's when they'll come up and say, hey, you doing drugs? No, I'm in withdrawal, which means if I had my drugs, I'd be fine. That's when they know we're doing drugs, is when we're withdrawal, not when we've actually got the damn opioid. Okay, so again, what happens is that we shut our endogenous opioid system down. So if we don't have opioids in our body from outside, exogenous, we're not normal. Function of consciousness. Anybody who's been in the situation that I've been in, anybody who's been out there on the streets, we feel like we have an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other. We have this angel that's screaming at us, you've got to stop, you've got to stop. You are destroying your life, you're destroying the lives of people you love. You're not going to be able to pay your electric. All of it is screaming at us that we are hurting not only ourselves, but the people we love, and we've got to stop. And then it's like there's this devil over here that says, well, you know, the electric bill is due in 2 days, but you got the money now. You go out and get the pills now. Something will happen in 2 days and you can pay the electric bill. Knowing all the damn time that when in 2 days the electric bill is due, you're still going to have to go out and get the pills of heroin. Or whatever. We don't really have an angel and a devil on our shoulder. What we have is our rational consciousness. Our consciousness is not there to thwart our drive for survival. If it was, we wouldn't have made it a species or individual. We wouldn't be sitting here. The function of consciousness is to take what that survival circuit tells it we need to live and to go out in the environment and to get it for us and do so in a way that best enhances our survivability. This is why when we're in withdrawals, we don't take a gun and go rob a drugstore. Yeah, we'd probably be well for about now, and then we'd spend 10 to 15 years in prison. That's really not going to help us survive very well. So we find other ways. When we first start doing these things, the pills, the heroin, we have resources, we have jobs, we have money. So it's okay. We can do this. And again, you start out slow. And this is the thing about the opioids. If you're doing meth or coke, you crash. If you're drinking alcohol, you're hung over. If you're taking benzos, you wake up in jail. If you're doing these opioids, you take them when you're just beginning, you take them, you feel great, you go to bed, you wake up the next day, and there's no consequences. There's no withdrawal. It takes time for that to build up. And since we don't understand that this is brain disorder, we don't understand what we're doing when we're increasing our dose, we just keep taking the damn things until we wake up one day and we can't stop. And that is the strangest feeling in the world. To fight yourself over and over again. I don't know how many times, how many ways. I told myself, no matter what, I'm not going to use anymore. I don't care what happens. I'm not going to use anymore. And then I'd be out searching. I have so many vivid memories of things like this. One of them is driving up to an ATM machine. The whole time I'm driving up to that ATM machine, this must have been back when I was at UAMS, I still had money in my account. Driving up to that ATM machine, I'm telling myself, I can't do this. I don't have the money to do this. I can't pay my electric bill, I'm going to lose my car. I can't do this. Sliding my card into the ATM machine, punching the numbers in, all the while telling myself I can't do this, getting the money, cursing myself, and then going to shoot with the lawyer and not understanding why. Not understanding why. Consciousness is not there again to thwart our survival. It's there to allow us to find a way to go out and get what we need. Again, when we first start on this, our doses are low, we have money, we have options. The problem is, the longer we go with this, the higher we drive our addiction, the more we need, the more money it takes from us, the more time it takes from us to find what we need. Our options start to dwindle. We start to get to the point where we have to hawk, sell, trade all of our things in order to get what we need. And we do that. But then we run out of those options. So our consciousness, trying to find a way to get what we need to survive, starts going through these other options in our head. And we're left with options. None of them are good. None of the options get what we need and still help us to survive. And this is where it hurts the people we love. Because we know we can go to them, and when their back's turned, we can take 20 bucks out of their purse, we can take 20 bucks out of their wallet, and they're not going to throw us in jail. Do we like doing that? Do we like going into our father's gun cabinet, getting a gun and going and hawking it? No, we don't. This is where the mistake